Hey friends, Jewel back with more Astro Coolness, and I want to talk about the conjunction between Mars and Neptune in the birth chart. What happens when we have this sexy conjunction going on? So, I call this one the aspect of the marinator, because they're either marinating in their Mars or they're marinating in their Neptune. But either way, there is some marination going on. We have the action in somebody's personality mixed with passivity. So aggression and passivity, action and non-action, mixing together. So we end up with steam when we've got this one, because we have fire and water. So people that have this one tend to be pretty attractive, sexy people. We see a lot of successful actors that have these aspects between Mars and Neptune. People that work in industries that have to do with film specifically. Either camera film, because like the square between Mars and Neptune favors people who work behind the camera. The opposition favors people who work in front of the camera. And the conjunction also favors people who work in front of the camera, because they have this ability to allow, or not even allow, but to invite and encourage the projections of other people. There's something about their ego that is so porous that it allows them to take on the flavor. They're like tofu. That's what it is. They're like tofu. They take on the flavor of whatever it is they're steeped in. And so there's a way that the strength of Mars also matters with this one. You have to consider the sign that Mars is coming through. And if it's coming through a sign that it does very well in, like in Capricorn, Scorpio, Aries, then the Mars is going to lead. And so there is an ability for them to take more action. And usually in the charts of people that use this one to their advantage professionally, like in the charts of actors, it's going to be a Mars that is in a sign that it does really well in. We can see more issues with using our energy, or even getting up enough willpower to make our dreams come true when Mars is in a sign that it's more challenged in, or especially in a sign where it's in its detriment. It can be more difficult to get it together, because we have action, our actual assertiveness, and the ability to really take off and take initiative in something, mixing with the planet of dreams, sleep, escapism, unreality. So we have the first house ruler, the natural ruler of the first house, mixing directly with the natural ruler of the 12th house. The first is about the self, the 12th is about everything, everybody, the collective. And so there is this way that they personally embody or invite the collective idea of what they are or should be. So this is why they do really well in any kind of performance career, and why people tend to look at them and see the embodiment of their own sexual fantasies. especially men who have this conjunction are extremely steamy. There is often an element of selfishness with this conjunction. And we have to be careful because the relationships, especially that men get into that have this conjunction, it can happen also with women, can have a very sexually hidden, inappropriate / odd flavor to them. They can be long distance. They can involve a certain amount of innuendo or unclarity or clandestine behavior, Neptunian things. It's also really common for people who have this conjunction not to understand or realize the consequences of, or the impact of their actions or their ego on other people. Generally, we have some amount of blinders on when we have the conjunction or the square to how our aggression or our assertiveness or anger has impacted other people. Especially with the conjunction, there is an inability or a weakness when it comes to the responsibility factor. Now, this is stemming from early conditioning. This is really, really often found, the roots of this particular conjunction are often found in a male figure that we were exposed to. Many times it was the father. It doesn't always have to be. Many times it was. It was the father that did not take the kind of responsibility as a man, as someone that we perceived as the teacher of the male sexual role. He did not take the kind of responsibility for his own actions or his own strength or force of his own ego as he should have. And so there is a anger, especially in a man that has this conjunction, at that role model's behavior, and an unconscious guilt that it's being repeated by us, the person that has this particular conjunction, now in real time. So ultimately, it is about getting real, because Neptune is about making things real, seeing through the fog, getting real about who we are and about what we want. Because there's a way that we escape from the responsibility of the force of what we really want, the selfishness in us that says, no, I am about this and I want this. That's actually not bad to want. It's not bad to desire. Mars in itself is not a bad thing. It's not. It is when we employ our ego or our desires or our aggression, our ability to get things in a way that is destructive or selfish, that we get into trouble. So this implies cutting through the fog of unacceptance or of escapism or of the inability to appropriately handle our own anger or aggression And a lot of times our sexuality with this conjunction, um, this one does, especially in a male's chart, infuse a certain amount of openness into the sexual behavior. So we can see, and it also strongly depends on the house rulers, because not every man who has this conjunction is going to have a plethora of experiences. But it's not uncommon, especially for men in their youth, to have some homosexual encounters or feelings or experiences early on in their life, or to continue to have a very open or open-ended kind of way of viewing sexuality. So we can get kind of the David Bowie effect or the Prince effect, where we're essentially straight, but we're also not limited. So it's a complex and mysterious and somewhat undefinable sexuality that is very, very, very common with people of both genders who have this particular conjunction, and a lot of times with the square or the opposition, but that is certainly not the case 100% of the time. It's very unwise to see hard aspects between Mars and Neptune and pinpoint that person as, homosexual or as a lesbian, and then, we don't want to accuse people of things that are never there, and especially if that is even a tiny bit there, and you do even bring that up to somebody who has this, they are going to go crazy, because there is going to be a certain amount of denial that is also implied here, probably if they are not acting out on this, and if it does exist. But I'm not saying that it exists for everybody, and I'm not saying that everybody is going to act out in these ways. It's probably pretty likely that most people who have hard aspects between Mars and Neptune, not everybody, but most people, have had or entertained some more colorful, multi-gendered sexual fantasies. It doesn't mean people are acting out on things. Most humans are entertaining thoughts like that. Hello? Shocker, huh? Yeah, most people. And you know who's actually entertaining more thoughts about homosexual behavior than anybody? Alpha males. Yeah, especially the ones that are driving around with like the shotgun mounted in the back of their truck so everybody can see it, or their vehicles are looking very masculine, or they're always talking about how, that fag is this or that, or, their identity is actually like anti-feminine male. If you really look closely, those are the ones who have the most suppressed, homosexual, unacknowledged, buried tendencies of all of us. So, I'm going to get a lot of comments about that one. Bring it on. So this is an aspect that lends some real complexity to somebody's behavior and their ego. And because Mars represents the assertive side of our sexuality to that part of our lives as well. So you certainly want to look at how it's aspected when you see this conjunction. In itself, it actually lends a lot of artistic ability, sensitivity, people do tend to be pretty sensitive with this. Some of them could be oversensitive. Some of them can be ego-sensitive, meaning that it's kind of ridiculous how they can react when you say anything critical. It's not usually as bad as the square. The squares are really bad about that. The conjunction, not too bad. My son has the square between Mars and Neptune. Actually, I was just driving with him, and he's just on the cusp of getting his license. So I'm still instructing him and pointing out things, you know, that are not exactly safe in his driving. And it was just today I pointed out that he parked way, way, way too close to the car next to us. He wasn't going to be able to get out. And he scared me a little bit because I didn't know if he was going to sideswipe the back of the car as he was pulling in. And he actually said, you know, it's like hurts my feelings when you judge my driving. It's ridiculous. It's insulting. And I'm sitting there thinking, somebody's got their Mars square to Neptune. Because he did park too close to that car, and he could not hardly get out. So these are aspects where we have to be aware that our perceptions of, you know, being insulted, or our perceptions of other people not, you know, criticizing us. Criticism in general is really, really difficult to swallow when we have hard aspects between Mars and Neptune. And this is one where it can really set us off because there is, again, that sensitivity, that's Neptune, mixing with the ego, which is Mars. And growing a thicker skin through getting really clear about who we are and what we want is really advisable when we have this conjunction. Now, we can have some otherwise very tough aspects in a person's character. And this one can show up very situational to the house. That means the area of life that it sits in. Now, if it's in the first house, it's going to pretty much be prevalent in all of the areas of life, because that's the first house of our actual, how we behave and how we interact with our actual environment. So, it's a complicated aspect to have. But there's also a lot of pluses that come with it. There's a lot of artistic ability, poetic ability, generally sexy when we have this one. And it does make for somebody that has a very dreamy, attractive quality to them. So, I hope this was helpful. If it was, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com and other social media, Facebook, Instagram at Truth and Aspect Astrology, where you should be following me because I do the daily astro weather forecasting and birthday descriptions, all kinds of asteroid articles and stuff over there. I also specialize not just in relationship and intimacy astrology, but also planetoids and asteroids. And Patreon as well. Please support me there and help me to establish my women's retreat, where we will be doing esoteric learning and healing, and I can help women to reconnect to their feelings and their true selves, and therefore their higher selves, through horses, nature, meditation, astrology, and all kinds of esoteric learning. So please support me there, and I'll be back super soon with more super cool videos. Bye-bye.